The debate is officially over, as Atlas has shattered the mold of what we thought was possible.
We have confirmation because streams of measurements and observations are forcing us toward a single disturbing reality. Atlas is simply not a comet, according to the dossier of evidence compiled from massive Hubble snapshots.
Juice probe readings, spectral analysis, and X-ray hits are dismantling the traditional dirty snowball hypothesis today.
This is not wild guessing, because we are looking at hard data that demands we reclassify immediately.
Let us cut through the noise immediately if you were waiting for another standard report about dust.
You need to prepare for the exact opposite, because Atlas is pumping out its own self-generated energy.
It features a rigid forward-facing jet and a metallic composition loaded with unnatural levels of nickel.
Optical polarization and acceleration defy gravity, while its shape looks more like a manufactured object than rock.
These are bold claims, but science cares about proof, and right now, every shred proves impossible conclusions.
So what changed the data that turned everything upside down in the span of a few weeks?
We received the smoking gun during the approach in early November as Juice Probe captured the object. It used navigation optics and scientific sensors before Hubble swung around on November 30th to observe Atlas.
Releasing a post-perihelion image revealed a teardrop-shaped coma and an anti-tail pointing at the sun.
It suggests a swarm separating from a main craft at a separation distance of roughly 6,000 kilometers.
Meanwhile, ground observers in Namibia reported sharp defined jets, including one projecting forward with distinct color signatures.
Some processed Hubble images show square artifacts near the core, which raises valid questions about handling data.
Even if we ignore those processing glitches, and the overall behavior remains undeniable because Atlas refuses comet status.
Let us look at physical evidence that destroys the natural hypothesis and lists the massive incompatibilities here.
Viewing them together makes the ice rock explanation impossible, so we will break them down one by one.
Self-generated X-rays and a rigid forward jet pair with a weak coma and no tail.
An anomalous metallic structure shows a nickel-to-iron ratio that is astronomically high, with negative polarization.
Non-gravitational speed boosts happen without enough visible debris to cause them, or massive jets, minimizing loss.
Rotation signals mismatch a tumbling icy core during repeated precision orbital flybys of Mars, Venus, and Jupiter.
Strange brightness spikes with a blue hue show jets that stay collimated over millions of kilometers now. Energy output is unsupported by this nucleus, so point 1 concerns the X-ray hits at location.
X-rays represent high-energy emission generated by the object itself, not sunlight bouncing off a rock.
Standard comets pumping out consistent X-rays would need to be venting a catastrophic amount of gas. Interacting with solar winds is the opposite of Atlas, which looks dry and dormant, so consider composition.
Readings suggest a nickel-to-iron ratio of 10:1 in the metallic sections of alloys.
This is closer to refined industrial alloys than cosmic snowballs, which are usually just volatile ice grains.
This chemical fingerprint alone should trigger every alarm bell we have. And so let us look at morphology.
A sharp anti-tail jutting forward with tight laser jets does not fit the diffuse venting model.
Natural jets usually spread out and look the same because they come from the exact same dirt.
With Atlas, we see jets of different colors, signaling a complex internal structure you do not get.
Point 4 covers speed changes, and non-gravitational acceleration means the object is changing velocity right now.
Gravity cannot explain how ice sublimates in comets, creating thrust like a rocket, without visible gas clouds.
That requires mass loss. But Atlas is speeding up without a cloud big enough to explain pushes.
Basically, there is not enough fuel leaving the tank to explain how fast it is going today.
The transcription is as follows. Point 5 is the energy budget, because long jets require absorption areas bigger than the Atlas nucleus.
Practically speaking, the sheer volume of material and speed of ejection require a power source or propulsion.
Standard physics simply cannot account for this definitive proof, which represents the total sum of all fears.
Listen, one weird data point might be a glitch, but we stack X-rays, nickel, and jets.
Negative polarization, impossible speed, weird light curves, and orbital coincidences ensure that the narrative shifts very quickly. The chance that natural causes explains all of this drops to 0 because of this convergence now. Scientific confirmation exists, and even conservative skeptics who laughed at radical theories initially are admitting the truth.
They admit that a comet is no longer the most logical answer, and this is not opinion.
It is the only rational reaction to numbers on the screen, so enter the mini-probe hypothesis.
This scenario fits the facts, because out of all theories, one explains every single anomaly seen here. The release of multiple objects, like mini-probes, scouts, or reflectors, from a primary mothership.
Computer models show that a swarm of solid, non-volatile objects create the exact anti-solar trail.
It is a line of reflectors looking like a solid streak from a distance, solving the puzzle.
A formation of reflectors creates the sun-facing tail, while lighter probes react differently to solar gravity.
This explains weird acceleration data, while a swarm naturally explains the tight jets and the different colors. Some of that hardware is made of a nickel-rich alloy that explains spectral readings perfectly.
Even better, this theory makes testable predictions, which is considered the gold standard of science right now. If the antitail is actually a deployment of probes, its visibility should pulse with delivery events.
Models suggest visibility should drop around December 19th, marking the end of a Mars delivery next year.
It spikes again near Jupiter Rendezvous on March 16th, making these specific dates represent science in action.
Later images perfectly match the drift separation of large fragments from a main body, showing the gap.
That 60,000-kilometer gap matches the Hubble observations from November 30th exactly to confirm the data.
Flagged the preliminary JUICE image from November 2nd, showing a halo and two distinct tails clearly.
These specific shots were taken right before the probe made its closest pass to the object today.
Instruments on JUICE give composition data proving once and for all the existence of detached artificial machinery.
Now let us look at the natural alternatives, including an exomoon, a planet fragment, or depleted comet.
Before we jump to aliens, we must be fair and ask, could this really be an exomoon?
A moon ripped from another solar system is theoretically possible, but requires a billion-year survival story.
It requires a mechanism for these jets, because metal content and X-rays do not fit moons.
What about a planetary fragment? Because a chunk of a planet could surely have high metal content.
Again, directed jets, and the X-rays and the speed boost without a cloud remain a huge mystery.
The depleted comet was an early favorite, but with only 4% water and extreme polarization appearing.
With way too much nickel and self-generated power, this theory is absolutely dead in the water.
Summary nature is striking out, because in science, when nature fails to explain the data, you look.
You are invited and obligated to look at the answers you previously ignored to find the truth.
Let us recap the 12 anomalies of Atlas, because before we finish, you need the full picture.
Here are the 12 impossible things Atlas is doing, starting with a retrograde orbit on the ecliptic. That is statistically absurd for an interstellar visitor, which should come in at a random angle now.
2 involves jets pointing at the sun, creating an anti-tail that perspective tricks cannot explain today.
3 represents a mass that is far too dense and compact for a standard comet to sustain. 4 is a tourist itinerary, visiting Mars, Venus, and Jupiter in a row, like a grand tour.
5 is a plume rich in refined nickel, while 6 shows gas emissions with almost no water.
7 shows negative optical polarization that does not match known natural catalogs found in any database here.
8, it came from the exact region of space associated with the famous WOW signal received previously.
9 involves sudden brightness spikes with a blue tint that cannot be explained by natural reflection laws.
10 lists energy requirements that exceed its surface area, implying an internal power source is active now.
11 shows acceleration, implying 13% mass loss, with no visible cloud to account for the thrust.
12 features jets that stay stable for millions of miles without twisting, suggesting active stabilization control systems.
To put it bluntly, the evidence available today forms a rock-solid case that Atlas is artificial.
The mix of X-rays, alloys, forward tails, and intelligent maneuvering kills the ice ball theory forever.
This does not solve the mystery completely. Far from it. But science is not about being sure.
Science is about coherence, and right now the coherent picture suggests we need to investigate the object.
We must investigate the possibility that we are tracking a technological object, because that is the reality.
The best move is to wait and watch, because the mini-probe hypothesis has given us dates.
If those predictions come true, human history changes. So what do you make of these numbers today?
Does the data I have laid out convince you that Atlas is something artificial or natural origin?
I want to read your theories in the comments below if you found this breakdown valuable today.
Please hit that like button so information spreads, and make sure you subscribe to Winds of Thought.
Share this video to keep the investigation alive, as we will be tracking the next data dump.
We track data from JUICE and Hubble closely because the story of Atlas is not over yet. In fact, the most shocking revelation may be yet to come, so stay tuned for more updates.